It's Tuesday night.
Good
evening and welcome back, everyone. It is Conversation 12 of Alpha to Omega, Conversations for a New Earth with Matt and Alyssa Omega and Emily Harrison. How are you doing tonight, Emily and Alyssa?
I'm so good. I'm happy to be here. I just love the name of your show. Like the Alpha to the Omega, the Alyssa to the Omega. It's so good. You guys are amazing. I'm so excited to be here. I'm proud of you for what you've got up and on its feet. Good job.
Well, thank you. Yeah. We appreciate that from our hearts because it feels good, and that's where the seeds are for this show and these conversations. It's from a really deep place. So the Omega idea, the raising the conversation, all this being something that's accountable and meaningful and purposeful is the direction we're going. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. Before we go any further, I will give a quick intro to you, Emily, esteemed founder and director of the Akashic Academy. Emily has been in a big life transition the last, I guess it's 10 years or so now, from Hollywood to the Akashic Records, where she is the founder of this mystery school that helps all of us who tune in with her reach the vibration that finds most resonance with our soul purpose. So Emily has been featured on about anywhere you can be. It's really easy to find her on Netflix and Gaia, but also CBS, NBC, HBO. She even has spoken at Harvard. And you can tune in every Wednesday at 12 Pacific time to Akashic Answers for Emily, which I love tuning into. We have several times where she opens the Akashic Records, which we'll learn a little bit more about tonight. So, and tonight we may call you the Akashic Alchemist because we're going to be mixing up a little bit of the crown chakra along with the Akashic Records. Did I miss anything, Emily? I know there's a lot to pack in there.
You got enough to get us started in the conversation. That's for sure, Matt. Thank you very much. It's a beautiful introduction.
Perfect. Well, thank you. And thank you so much for your time and for joining us. We know it's a very busy time of year for you. You've got so much going on, and we really appreciate you spending some time with us this evening. So we've got Angie, who's joined us already. Angie, thank you so much for making the time. We're so glad to be able to connect you with Emily, and we'll talk a little bit more about her mission and what she's got going on as the show continues. And then those of you who are joining on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you are, we love to hear from you. So any comments, any questions you have, please throw them at us. We will do our best to put them on the screen and add them to the conversation. So very excited for tonight. We have been going through what we call the Treasure in the Trauma series, which we learned that so much of what holds us back in our life is from within. We are the authors of our soul and the creators of our destiny. So we started at the root chakra, and then we worked our way on up, and now we are at the crown. And so tonight, I think we'll just start with the basics. So starting with you, Alyssa, let's get the conversation going. What have you felt is the essence of the crown chakra? Where is it located? What does it do for us? What have you felt so far to be true about this idea of the crown chakra?
Yes, crown is was a little bit evasive for me. It was mystical, magical. It is white. Some people say that it's purple, right? But I believe it's white. And to me, it's also about like the culmination of all the other colors together ended up in the white spectrum when all colors of light come together. And when we're talking about light, I thought that was really, really cool. It's almost like the part where if you allow every single color inside of you to let go and become one with, Christ consciousness or source, you can then access all that is there for you in every spectrum of every color of different people, places, lifetimes, like the ability you have to access this other information and also dimensions and all the good stuff. And it's all about the culmination for me, crown, which I got my white on, got my little crown here. It's my baby crown. And to basically put it in the simplest terms, I feel like it's an access point. So it's the part of us that is capable of bringing it all together and then accessing as if it's like World Wide Web. Like I have a computer and I have a hard drive, like see this as my hard drive. But with this, boom, I can plug in and get all the information from the internet, right? We're living our own little individual lives, experiences, but outside of this one little life and my one little perspective, I can gain access to my other lifetimes, to my potentials, and to all the other people around me and all their information that they've, uploaded to the cosmos or the consciousness. So we could call it a million things, but does that summarize it enough? I would love to hear how Emily would describe it.
Yeah.
It's so fun to sit and just listen to talk and to share. And, I've always been a fan of just like being in your presence, what comes through in like conversation. Yeah. So thanks for sharing about the crown from your perspective. The crown as where we process relationship to go. And for myself, maybe many people out here, there's a lot of spiritual programming that we experience here on this planet. And so for me, I'm Baptist, really immersed in the Southern Baptist church. I went to church, but I was a rebel inside, definitely a part of like Emily's soul that wanted to look at God, the construction. So once I learned about my chakra and began to really work with them as I got older, I did a lot of work to clear out the energy from the crown that's holding any of our patterning, like what we've become accustomed to based on our families, based on our geographical location, based on the planet herself and where collective consciousness is around religion. And so a lot of people who have grown up in this way, maybe deep into religious programming, can find it hard to open up access to, like Alyssa said, the worthiness to all that is available for us under the kingdom of heaven as we're here on the planet. And the crown chakra can really be a gateway for us to not only understand the God energy and how it's been present in our lives up until this point, but we can actually begin to look at ourselves and understand ourselves as the God, goddess energy as well. It's ultimately, that's one reason that our soul chose to incarnate here on the physical earth plane, is so that we could experience what it's like to have ultimate free will in creation and authority over the physical elements. We have dominion here on the planet. So the crown chakra is really where we start talking about all of these kind of concepts and why it's so important. I'm so glad you've taken everybody through the work we talked about of the lower chakras and clearing that energy, because we really tap into a lot of power here, and we want to use that power for good, for the highest good of ourselves and everyone connected to us. And we've experienced too many lifetimes here where there's been a manipulation of the great power. So it's time that we get to take it back into our own hands and use it for good.
Amen. That feels so powerful. And as both of you are talking, and I completely agree, Emily, there's something about listening and tuning in with the intention of just learning. And that's what we say about this show. We're just here to explore. And every show, things come up that we had no idea about before we started. So as you're talking, as Alyssa's talking, I'm seeing like Einstein's quantum theory of time. Like you mentioned, access point. I'm seeing like folds in the space between us all where we can all have this quantum point that we are the same. And there's no difference anymore. And it exists. We just need to find it. And as you're talking, Emily, I'm seeing almost like a lake that's sitting there above our head. That's a mirror. That's like this water we can just immerse ourselves into, and we can look up and see our reflection there all along looking over us if we'll just look up. So those are some of the things that come through just as I'm listening. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about those. The access seems like almost unbelievably huge. Like there's no limit to how much we can find if we'll just remove the blocks.
Yeah, 100%. Well, first, I just want to comment on, you're so clairvoyant to talk about like when we're talking here and you're like, I see this vision of you. That's cool, right? So that just tells me that you're clairvoyant, that seeing is very profound and intact for you. And so I'll just invite everybody else out there, like as we're having this conversation, notice what comes up in your field, what becomes available in your field of awareness. It might be an image that comes up. You might hear a voice or a message in your mind. You might hear song lyrics. This is your innate talking to you. Right? This is your own God intelligence revealing itself to you through this conversation today. So just wanted to bring everybody's awareness to how this is happening simultaneously right now as we're all sitting here together. It's cool.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love it. And I would love to direct a few follow-up questions, because I think the programming is such an important element of this idea of ushering in something new. There's no way to do it until we address everything that's held us back. And I really appreciate what you had mentioned, Emily, about the religious programming, because Alyssa and really our whole relationship has been founded on this trauma that we both were done with, and we wanted to find a new way. So I'd love to start with you on this one, Alyssa. Have you found some of these trauma that have been trapped in your crown that have limited the ability to open up to new learning specific from the religious upbringing that you experienced?
Yes, absolutely. Like there's a long path that was, up and down, but as far as my crown chakra, it was about the unlearning for me. It was letting go of all the things I had learned and just not being attached to it anymore. And that's like the main thing about the crown. It's about being unattached, finally letting go so that you can let in. If you let go, you can let in. And by letting in, you have all the cosmos that's willing to offer you everything. But we, by our learning, by what we've been told and all the programming and all the beliefs that hold us back, that make us small and make us insecure and make us not worthy, all the programming is what blocks us in our crown to be unattached to flow, to receive and connect and all the beautiful things that it is allowing us. So yeah, with my original, I love the church. I love my family. I love all of it. It gave me so many different things and different perspectives, and there is no judgment about it. But the parts that I had to let go of was a struggle. And it was just about not even attaching myself to something new, but just letting go of what I knew, just letting go. And then seeing, basically, once I let go, what else flows in naturally. And then as things became flowing, it just kind of recreated what naturally became the kingdom of my crown, because it is just like little tether points. It's like, ooh, get this, get that, and no longer blocked, because I am not attached to anything. I am just the one receiving the signals and then allowing my body to do what it needs to do with it. But we will block it because we already know we're not allowed, and all those things just kind of like shut down the crown. So yes, absolutely. A lot of just unlearning, unbeing attached, and not being attached to this new belief, just being unattached, period.
Mm-hmm.
Woo, girl, that's probably the most smoking just breaking it down, like unlearning. I've never thought about it in that way before, but you're so right. Like the crown chakra, it's not about learning anything. It's about everything that you've learned up until this point and letting go, because that's what becomes the access point to let all the other cosmic stuff in. Yeah, I don't know if I can follow that up, Matt. Can you ask me a question, please?
Yeah, I mean, it takes us right into what's next.
I love it.
It's so true. And that was such a huge shift for me to consider in my own life. Are you willing to erase it and trust that something's there to catch you? And for the longest time, I truly couldn't find it. It's really like Indiana Jones and that imaginary staircase that goes across the canyon. I really wasn't willing. But over the years, I've suffered enough from not being willing and just being stuck on that side of the canyon that I've finally been willing to take those steps. And every single time I'm there to catch myself. And I'm lucky to have a companion who's there too. So maybe let's go that direction with it, Emily. As you remove the attachment and don't need to be the regurgitation, memorization expert of all things, how can your crown help you start to trust yourself?
Well, we really get the opportunity to write our own identity at that point, right? If we're shedding all of these old versions of ourselves that we've learned, that begs the question, who am I now? And so that's when we begin to really think about ourselves through the God perspective, the perspective of God minds, where the Akashic records, I think, come in beautifully. So for those who are new to understanding the Akashic records are the realm of consciousness that hold all information, past, present, all possible futures, and is recorded from a neutral perspective. Neutral means unconditional love and zero judgment. And so once we unlearn all of these areas of how we're separate from source and how we're not worthy, and we open up, we have access to our own soul records, which allow us to tap in and really begin to discover self-truth. And it's interesting, Alyssa, just to riff on your, like, the unlearning idea, right? The Akashic records is a lot about remembering. Yes, we learn how to use the records, but through the records, we remember the truth of who we are. And when we let go of all of that learning, all of this new memory becomes available of who we are. And then we get to formulate a new identity, meaning how do I see myself now? How do I want to show up on the planet? How do I want to serve the planet with my gifts and with my abilities? That's Christed consciousness, the Christed consciousness avatar activating within us, where we want to serve the planet in our own natural medicine, in our uniqueness, right? So once we let go of all that old stuff, this is what's on the other side, is this exploration of what our cosmic identity is.
Yeah, I love that. And what?
And then it gets really fun. A way to like allow yourself to be seen from such a grander way. And it's funny, just like to mention, some people are scared, like the awakening, because it is a little bit uncomfortable to start recognizing you are God. And people will attach themselves like they're God in a way that other people aren't. Because when you start downloading, it's like, whoa, I'm incredible. And it's like with all your blinders on, it almost feels like you're better than other people. But as you start awakening more and more, you're like, oh my gosh, it's all God, it's all me. And not in an egotistical way, I am this tiny little speck, and I am also all things. And that consciousness, when you expand it into I am all things, but I have chosen to experience this in the smallest little way, in this little tiny body, to play a little role in the grand scheme of all the beauty that I could create on the other side, like let's say the God mind, the one that does remember all of it. And you can wake yourself up to this level of, oh my gosh, it's me, it's in me, the I am that's behind all the thoughts. That part that is witnessing is the I am that's in everybody else, that is eventually can go back to remember the whole entire story and the one that created it all. And then we get to awaken on this planet to be like, it's me, but I'm just this little speck. And it's beautiful. How beautiful is it to experience the one tiny little cell in God's body, and to awaken, to experience all the little people and all the connections you can have by separating yourself, and then awakening on a planet that you get to like experience the waking up of who you truly are and the role that you've chosen to play on this planet that you already wrote the script for. And you're just here to embody it and to allow it to come forth. And it's going to be the best and most beautiful thing that you could imagine, because you wrote the story. You wanted to play it. And now it's about allowing yourself to just roll into the joy that would have driven you. And that's what we talked about with the sacral. You were given the passion and drive that would be of the utmost best for you on this timeline, that you could experience whatever you came here to do. Your mission and your joy and your passion, it's all interconnected. And that's why you're meant to awaken and follow and allow that passion, that drive to be not like a bad thing, but a thing that's meant to awaken and drive you, as long as you're aware of, we talked about the balance in this too. You can become so self-absorbed in what feels good that you then hurt other people. And as long as you're holding both those things, you can and completely embody in your God self here on this planet, and then allow other people to do the same around you. When we get to do that together, slowly awakening, and it is incredible. I get so excited.
Well, you're preaching what we need to. It's one of the missing pieces, truly, that trips so many people up. This is the divine design: is that we are all individual, unique aspects of the God personality, incarnating as separate here so that we can experience ourselves and experience each other. But we've forgotten that. So this waking up within the dream world gets really challenging because we stay asleep. The distortion, the Maya, the illusion is so tactical. It's so strong. That's why we need conversations like this. They're the conversations that nudge us and wake us up, right? Something else you said that I felt was really interesting too was around like power and people wanting that power. Of that power of the God mind. I find that people either are afraid of power, of their true power, maybe because we've also learned through manipulating others, right? And learned through a distortion of our own power, which our soul can shy away from and tend to like be sometimes if we've been overshadowing or overpowering in a previous lifetime, we might hold back a little bit more and soften, maybe be a little bit more meek. So finding that balance of power that really suits our soul's growth. Like we have to go through a whole lot of learning around power to get to the point where we can balance it and use it for good.
Yeah, and a lot of unlearning.
A lot of unlearning. There you go. Yes.
Yeah, I love that so much. And it brings up a question that I don't want you to answer, either of you right now, but I'm going to come back to it a little later. And it's, Alyssa, who are you? And Emily, who are you? And I don't want you to answer now, but if I try to answer, I'll just start crying. So I'm not going to do it. But I'm going to ask you two later. But I think that is such an important question that we don't ask ourselves very much as we grow up. But when we're younger, I think we do it all the time. Like, I'm a firefighter, I'm a explorer, we're all astronauts at some point. And I love a couple of things that Angie threw in just as some comments here for just sort of wrapping up this conversation around how our childhood and the different programming we are or aren't faced with really has such a long-lasting repercussion on our life. She chimed in with, I feel so lucky, going on the religious topic, to be raised by an agnostic father to allow the freedom to ask the questions and find my truth. And she follows up, I was always a daydreamer. So Alyssa, going back to childhood, I know we've talked about that quite a bit as well. How much would that encouragement of curiosity allow that crown chakra to stay open for someone like Angie? And Angie, would love to hear a little bit more from you too.
I love how you're using the word curiosity, because that is one of the first things that gets squashed, especially once you go into school. It's like all of a sudden you have to get it right, and that squashes your curiosity, because the curiosity was meant to just explore it. There is no right and wrong, it's just the exploration. But as soon as you say you got to be graded and you got to be tested and you're right or you're wrong, and it puts you in a box, suddenly your curiosity, which is truly the God mind incarnated to explore what it would naturally uncover in the process of living in its highest form, gets pushed into a tiny little corner that it says, no, you got to do it right and wrong. And then it makes this, like, if you see it as your inner child, just be like, okay, I'll just try to push myself in a certain direction. But the curiosity, if it was never squashed, naturally would have stayed open to be able to tap in and receive and explore and uncover who you truly are and what is truly in your highest good. But you get derailed because of these systems that are in place that are, we are all doing it because we think it's what we're meant to do. But I'm hoping with New Earth Energies, it's like, let's create a new school. Let's create a new way that the 12 things that they're going through is stages of becoming yourself. You're sovereign and you're free and you're not boxed in, because I believe that would be like the key. The key to changing society would be allowing these kids to blossom into who they truly were always meant to be. If they weren't squashed and put in a box, and then they are unable to awaken, or they do, but it's with so much struggle, when they should have been able to just do it naturally from the age that they were given to uncover it naturally. Mm-hmm. So I have so much I could go off on, so many rants about that, but yes.
So powerful though.
The question was, did I answer it?
Of course. Yeah, it was beautiful. And Emily, turning to you, what were you like as a child?
Yeah, definitely wanted to be an astronaut. Definitely curious. I loved playing these, imagination games outside with my cousins, and I loved being in nature and climbing trees. I also loved to put on productions. So there was a part of me that was a storyteller from a very, very early age. I also remember playing artist. Like, I had an art gallery where I would literally take the calls, and I would take the commission, and then I would run back to the back and I would paint it. And then I did all the parts of business, of entrepreneurship, right? But so some really beautiful aspects of what I naturally knew as a child, that so many of us naturally know as a child, and then it begins to fade away. Like these programs, like we said, we begin to learn the programs. But I think entrepreneurship is a really interesting spiritual journey that I think we take here on the planet. I feel like we think that the consciousness is set by the leaders, the political leaders on the planet. Consciousness on the planet is actually set by entrepreneurs and storytellers. Okay, storytellers, because they're sharing with us where the edge of our imagination is, where we become desensitized to things. And then entrepreneurs, because they're creating products or services that are either increasing consciousness on the planet or dumbing us down. right? So there's some part of me that knew like how society was meant to function in its natural rhythms, where we all are some version of an entrepreneur, where we're sharing our gifts and talents, we're serving the planet and serving our community, right? Through who we naturally are. And some part of my little human knew that.
Right.
And then it starts to like get distorted, right? As we go through the process of life on this planet. But I get so excited like for the schools that Alyssa talked about, because think about though, a society, a civilization where for generations, like we have multiplied and exponentially increased, like saturated this in the DNA, in the culture of this planet, so that humans become this collaborative, creative species. Like, think about where we're going to be. It's so exciting.
Yeah, it's these prayers that are ready to be answered. I remember when I was young too, my mom would say these things that I just really didn't know how to make sense of. But one thing she kept repeating that I picked up on over time is like, it's just so messed up that we live in a commerce-based world. It should be a creativity-based world. And I'm just, a little me like, okay, I'm gonna go play now. I got my imaginary friends over there. But over time, little things like that have stuck with me. The generations before us were wanting that and ready for that. And now we have the technology to bring it to pass. And it's time. So I love what you said. Like, here we are telling our story, doing our best. This is what shapes the planet and the consciousness around us. Thank you for saying that. That felt very validating.
Yeah, good. And I like that your mama said that too. That's really, what did she say? She said we're going to move from commerce-based to creative-based?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what is this? Why is money the currency? Why isn't it like the power of a story or the ability to impact a life or work through a trauma or something like that? And that's what you do as the quantum healers that you are.
Yeah, well, I think that in other star systems and other places in the galaxy, these paradigms are running differently, right? And you hinted there in the beginning of our conversation, and I think I might have gone off on another track there, but you started talking about like the vastness of what we can access through the Akash, and these new paradigms, these new ways of being, ways of creating society, the new schools, like the templates of the new earth exist through this higher mind. Like, we will channel in what these new ideas look like, and we will collaborate and create these opportunities together here on the planet as we keep our crown chakra opening and flowing and connected into the higher frequencies of guidance and creativity.
And that's basically what when we started this whole thing, I'm like, I think I was like consulting my higher self. And I'm like, what is it? We knew we wanted to do this and start having these conversations, but I'm like, what is it though? What is that core? What is that seed? And it was like, it's just about the conversation. That's all you need to do. Cause I kept trying to be big. Oh, we need to create this new school. We need to do this. Like, all these things need to happen. But what's my role in it? And it was like, so simple. All you got to do is start the conversation. Be the one having the freaking conversation about it, just exploring it, getting people excited, telling the new stories, experiencing, and then sharing. When you're, meditating, what does it feel like? What does it look like? What's the information that surrounds it? And then being able to explore that together with other people, because whatever your play is in the whole paradigm of New Earth, you are meant to awaken to it. Each of us have this beautiful little piece that was meant to be the part of this whole tapestry that is New Earth. And we are certain colors and meant to do certain things. And then when we awaken to that, then we are finally able to unfold naturally into our own individual purpose of the thing that is meant to weave together all of us. And so that's why I think the conversation is so important, because it helps awaken, like, ooh, that makes me feel like this would be really good. This is where I would like to explore doing. This is what I'd like to help in. If people just started doing their little things and start talking about it, oh, you really want to do that? People that have the money, people that have the time, people have this, they start to want to contribute because they believe in what it is that New Earth represents for humanity and for us individually.
Woo! Powerful. And we know we have something on deck that Emily will be sharing about what she's got going on. So stay tuned till the end, and we'll get more into just how much can come your way when you open up to it and put in 10 years of not effortless. Yeah. effortless but high effort energy work towards something. So yes, and I think we're ready to transition to the really getting into the definition of the Akash. What is it? How does it dovetail with our crown chakra, and how can that really open up our ability to understand ourselves? But a few comments before we do, and we'll keep moving right along. Really appreciate the follow-up from Angie, which is just going through some of the soul evolution. And then Cassandra, great to see you. Thanks for joining too. We'll get yours in just a second as well. So going from the childhood of sort of like the daydreamer and the curious one who was always allowed to ask questions, guess she had a couple turning points along the way, but she says she got squashed by marrying a narcissist. So all that kind of came crashing down and let family and society tell her she was wrong, and then really had to break down those walls the older she got. A lesson she definitely came here to learn. And I feel like, especially for those women in the world who have been so kindly holding so much space for us men for so long, that's a very common wound. But would either of you like to weigh in on that? Let's start with you, Alyssa.
Yes, I mean, we've all experienced it and we've all embodied it. This whole narcissistic trait is simply the isolation of believing we're not good enough and then trying to be better than, and trying to use that power, like we were talking about, to then try to take from other people, because ultimately we're scared we're not enough and we don't want to be not enough, so we're going to be better than. So it's really that distortion, and that you can get way off base, or you can, but we all have it in some way because we have these beliefs, and it's the belief that we are not good enough, that we don't deserve, and all those things distort reality. But yeah, so in her experience, Angie, I know we've gone through so many things together, and I know you and love you so much. You have been through so much. And I think that basically, you pulled it back down. I want to read it real quick. Her experience, like we've all experienced, didn't have to end with poor me. It ended with, I am amazing and I deserve to allow myself to step out of that relationship and get something that is more in resonance with who I am becoming. Because there's a reason why we chose them. So let's take accountability. We needed to learn those lessons, and then we can embody that and move forward. I know that that's what Angie is doing, and she is so strong for doing that. And I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want me to speak to those narcissistic relationships?
Yeah, do it, girl.
Well, first of all, yeah, Alyssa, gosh, sometimes you just drop these bombs I just love. So I've never thought about narcissism being like the collective and isolated wound of not being worthy. It makes so much sense. So much sense. Where I'm at right now in my life, as you guys know, I have a man in my life. I've been shifting from, like, I was married for 20 years, and it took me actually a long time to officially get out of that marriage and to free myself from it. Like, we were just separated from a long time, and it was I just noticed that even though I was complete with the relationship, I didn't want to continue learning the lessons that I was learning in that relationship. It was hard for me to break fully free. Like, I think I had some sort of we talked about, like, some of the big things that, kick us in the butt as a society, as a collective. That narcissism one is definitely one of them. Learned helplessness is another big one, right? So I wonder, like, when I look at my own life, I'm like, oh, I wonder if there's some learned helplessness there about just, like, being fully afraid to cut, and who am I on the other side of it and all the pieces. So that's where I'm at right now, is exploring who am I on the other side of it. And I'll also say conscious relationships, they don't, like, fall together and place themselves together like a game of Jenga or Tetris or whatever. I think it's Tetris where it falls from the sky.
Yes.
We have to consciously work and understand, like, what are the paradigms, what are the mechanics, what's the methodology, how do we actually create a conscious relationship, right? And so for me, it's starting with conversations like, hey, what are our core values in this relationship? Like, what do we stand for? What's important to you? What's important to me? So just for everybody who is going through the shedding of that old, like, collective cycle and story that we were in together around our narcissism, our not feeling worthy. Now that we're getting our worthiness back on track and we're really starting to feel it, What do we do with it? So for me, this is how I'm showing up to build relationships more consciously. And yeah, it's clunky and a little uncomfortable and weird, because you think that you're gonna have like it's romantic and we're just gonna like start making out at this moment and then we're in love and our life works really well. And no, it doesn't work like that. Right? So yeah, creating some mechanics around conscious creation of relationships, I think is important.
Yeah, I love how you're saying that. And I feel you there. Like relationships, if any, I've never spoken to someone that had what they would call a good relationship, and it wasn't a well-worked relationship. Like the people that are like, oh, we never fight, it's usually they're under the weather, like under the surface, there is so much unfelt, unallowed, and like suppressed emotions and all these things, because one party is like, I'm just not good. It's just not worth it. I'm not willing.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I heard that really resonated with me was that, and I don't remember what the study was, but it was basically saying that they did a study of like tons and tons of relationships, couples, and they realized that the best relationships and some of the worst relationships, the amount of like argument, of clash was the same. It was how they handled it that changed the relationship. It was actually the people that were willing to be like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt. Tell me about that. That makes you feel, oh, I totally validate that. Okay. And then you move forward with it. You don't get to a point where it's like, oh, nothing ever hurts you anymore, because we're human. When we're coming from two different places, and we are meant to experience these different ways of thinking and feeling and forgetfulness, all the things. So that helped me in our relationship be like, okay, because I used to have this fear that like, oh, I feel too much. There's too many things I feel, so I need to suppress it and be not telling my truth. When I realized like, hey, the fact that I have this many feelings, it's okay. And it's just about how we approach it. So then it gave me freedom to believe I was worthy to have whatever feelings and experience that I had, and that I'd also deserve a space to be heard in that. And so creating that paradigm shift for me did change a lot. So that was really a big thing in the relationship, basically.
What do you have to say about good relationships, Matt, before we talk about the Akashic Records?
I know, right? And Cassandra, I promise we're getting there. We're putting that up in just a second.
Well, and also I just wanted to point out too, like you also mentioned, honoring women for the space that we've been holding for men as they've been, because the wounding on this planet in both of the genres and sexes has really been healing. But you hold such just a powerful and beautiful space for divine masculine. I'm curious as what your experience of having a good relationship and doing the work to get there. Tell us more.
It's a loaded one that we could try to do a session about sometime. There would be screaming and crying and a lot to go into it, because I think the thing that men need to learn is you'll never have a relationship outside yourself that you don't have within yourself. And that's so different than, especially with the background I was given, it's kind of like do everything right and you'll find the perfect woman, the perfect wife that'll make everything perfect. And all you got to do is get to that point. And it messed with my mind so much that I forgot to ever care about myself, like a single day of my first 25 years of my life. So it was just so foreign. It was like, just take care of everything and then she'll take care of you. And it was so outside of me that it just didn't resonate with anything that proved to be true with Alyssa. So I feel really bad for my first relationship, because we were married for 7 years. We had 2 beautiful children, and I just didn't know. I had no idea that I had so much missing within myself that I wasn't willing to find. And Alyssa has been so patient to teach me. And it was a turning point. It was like 2.5 years ago where our 2-year-old was like there during some conflict, and Alyssa asked him why, and he said, because Daddy doesn't love himself. This is a 2-year-old who looked at me and said that. And from that moment, I just haven't forgotten. And it was like, okay, I'm going to need solitude. I'm going to need space. I'm going to need patience, because I'm going to figure out how to love myself. And that was just like, why is this hard? What is going on? This was supposed to be something I could just go get. And it was so backwards. But I think that's the illusion, and that's the sexualization of women. And that's the imbalance of of gender and of these masculine and feminine powers on this planet is like this one is glorified to be this prize that the man has to be worthy of getting, and then he's just this glutton that gets whatever he wants. It's so backwards and it's so destructive and hurtful. So let's not pass it on. Let's rewrite it, and let's have the conversations, and let's have everyone have a voice and learn how to love themselves first, and then you'll just attract what's meant for you anyway.
Yeah. You are so powerful. I love that your little one was able to just like witness and to see this and to shift it. And Matt, that you made that commitment of loving yourself. I think that's probably the most worthy quest that any of us can go on. And it looks different for all of us. I'm curious as to like, what did you do to learn to love yourself more?
I had to stop touching Alyssa every second of the day. I'll tell you in just simple layman's terms. That was the first. It was like, I want to feel good, so I get close to her. And she pointed it out slowly and gradually. And then eventually I realized it and was finally willing to face that and just sort of realize, like, I don't search that within myself. I look for it elsewhere. So what can I do to start loving myself? And it was just simple things like breathing while taking a shower and just enjoying that private space where I'm in this body as this consciousness, living this life, and that's okay. And I have enough, and anything else is welcome. So for like years, we had to really have these conversations like, I don't like that. Can you not do that? And it would be like, oh, well, what do you mean? And I'd do the recoils or whatever. So it really was just like a systematic, like, we need to be separate right now, and you got to figure it out. And then I'll let you know, and you let me pursue you. And just holding that space, which is kind of the opposite of the programming. So it was just taking quiet moments and then starting to be vulnerable. That's the other aspect, I guess, is the vulnerability to say, I need X, I need Y, because I had kind of inherited this idea that if I want something, I'll get it in secret, so nobody knows I have needs. So I'm taking care of everybody, and I'm the hero, so I get all the credit, and nobody does anything for me, because that would be against this program. So yeah, not to go too far into it, but it was like, really just finding the space to take the time to create little moments to train myself to start loving myself. And it works over time.
It was both of us at the same time, because I also was on the opposite side, but like I had to kind of in some way do the same thing. I have to allow him to touch me. I have to allow him to take advantage in whatever way. I have to silence myself. I have to. And as I started awakening to my power and to my sovereignty, it was pushing back on where he was taking, where I didn't feel comfortable, and finding the comfort or the confidence in myself to say, hey, it makes me uncomfortable when you do this, and not feel like it's a bad thing about me that I don't want to be touched that way and that that's too much for me. And so by me, and I think that's kind of really honestly how it starts. And I always refer back to the Barbie movie. Like, it is the woman, it is that feminine. And I don't mean unnecessarily a woman and a man. I mean, it is the feminine within every person that awakens to its power. And it's the first and original power within us that I believe is meant to awaken the masculine in us to then balance itself out. We have to allow that powerful feminine force that is the creative force of all things, to allow that to be okay, and to have that strength and that power be okay. And then allow, and slowly over time, this masculine has grown to allow also the space for that to be okay. And then it's that mutual, slowly opening as mother, and the feminine, I call it mother, allows herself to be in her full force, and then watching and allowing the masculine to step up. It has to be that feminine first, and then it gives that masculine the space it needs to be like, okay, well, I've seen what it was like, and I realize I really want you, so I'm going to step up too. And it gives enough space that it allows the masculine to grow into the feminine that is created because you step into that power.
Ow! I love you guys. You guys have worked hard for your relationship. Your souls have done the work, like moving through these different aspects. And I can see how the challenge that you experienced both elevated your learning together. Like, it invited that soul learning, which is just so beautiful. There's one other thing that popped in my field I wanted to say about it too. Oh, yes. 100% correct. Everything on this planet is birthed through the divine feminine. Everything. From new paradigms, right, to the new ways of being, to physical life. it all comes through that force of mother, like you said. And the quest for self-love, I mean, this is what neutralizes, clears the wound, the self-worthiness wound that we've talked about. Thanks for sharing what your journey looked like. I will segue into the records now, because I know we're supposed to talk about that about 5 minutes.
Yeah. No, we're perfect. But right? We appreciate the opportunity to go into it a little bit more too, because you're right. And that idea of cosmic creatrix energy is so important to every chakra, every energy system. It's not gathering and collecting and memorizing and all these regurgitative things that has become earth. It's birthing something new. And everyone has the power to do that if you tap into it. So one thing before we keep going with the Akash, which I'm super excited to bring into the conversation as we talk about reprogramming. I really love this question from Cassandra. I think it can relate to pretty much any aspect of this conversation. But speaking of right and wrong and the religious conditioning, because it is so hard to escape from the confines of it and aspecting God. So let's ask each of you, what are your perspectives on the existence of sin? Very important.
That is a great question.
So let's start with
I'll let you start. I would love to hear yours.
Okay, let's do it.
Me start? I'll start. So yeah, I mean, I grew up in that religious context where sin, and I think there was a whole sermon on it one day about sin is just missing the mark, right? It's missing the mark of what God wants you to do. So I think that sin, or like missing the mark or falling short of our potential, our Christed conscious potential, happens to all of us. It's why, like, it's part of our soul agreement. We come here to learn. Mm-hmm. And these points where we've missed the mark become the learning opportunities for our soul to, engage in a higher level of awareness. As I think we've all done it. I think it's part of the learning construct. I don't get too wrapped up in, but for the wages of sin is death, and some of these other pieces that scare us into feeling like if I don't apologize for the things that I did wrong that nobody knows about, then I'm going to hell. And I think that for me, that's not the concept, right? The concept is sin, missing the mark and falling short is the opportunity for us to learn. If we don't go into full presence with that within ourselves, like if we go into shame and hiding about the fact that we even did something wrong or that we would have done it better next time, we don't have the opportunity to learn. So it's also about just like softening up on ourselves and recognizing, hey, if I reflect on what I could have done better here, I get to grow faster as a human. So I'm of the thought, like everything is data. Okay, and the Akashic records, which we are going to get to in just a few minutes. One of the key things about this planet is it's known as a library, a living library. Okay, so what that means is that in every speck of consciousness on the planet, from humans to rocks to like whatever, it holds the connection, the frequency to the Akashic records. We can get information. That's one way to look at it. Here's another way that I look at it. Learn from everything around you. Like the soul comes here to evolve and learn. That's what a living library planet actually is can you learn from every situation? There's data all around you for you to learn and to grow. Can you take this opportunity of sin to learn and grow and to be better next time?
That's great. I love that. And a couple of things came through when you were saying it. I'll kind of just try to briefly go through it. When you say living library, what I feel and see and what's coming through for me is, and this has come through many times, the cosmos and the consciousness of all that is in existence, especially in our universe specifically, it has all this consciousness that's exploring in itself what it is to be itself and how it relates to all the other consciousness it surrounds. And here on Earth, we are the play. We are the consciousness that comes in our body. Every cell has this information that is then acted upon, and we are the ones to play the part in our own unique way. But the consciousness is enacted in the Earth through us being that consciousness from all over and how they interact with each other. And then here it is in a family. literally when it would be a cosmos, this entire galaxy, this whole place is all about this, and this is about this. And in ourself, we have it all. And then we have families this close where you can literally have an interaction with your partner, where it's like galaxies at war, like they don't get each other. But here, it is our family and love and all these things that tie us together at the core. It is those bigger aspects being enacted within our body, just the human body, and then our family, and then the earth as a whole. And that's why a lot of people say, like, it's almost like a TV show that people tune into to see how their consciousness enacts on earth and how it heals itself through these plays that are being watched and experienced, and then also rewritten, because we come with this love that and this awareness and this soul that is meant to reconnect and rewire what the old consciousness was. And that's our own little part, how we play. So that was really cool. You can believe what you want, but like that has come through many times. And I love that, like living library. It's almost like all the consciousness in one little place now enacting with each other. And then with a sin comment, so this has been an interesting one that I've downloaded different things at different times, but it all kind of goes back to, yes, there is like the idea of sin that other people have used and said this is wrong, and that's an entirely different conversation. I do believe there is such thing as sin, but I do believe the only thing that sin truly is judgment. And the only thing that needs to be eliminated of sin is judgment. And when that judgment is gone, all that is left is I see, I am aware, and I can learn, because no longer is there a part of you that is damned from the sin, because the sin is the piece that is holding you back, because it is judgment that makes you not want to move, or makes you want to blame, makes you want to project, makes you want to do all the things. And that true Christ consciousness and grace is without sin. It is without judgment. And when we like align ourselves to this pure love and pure sight, which is what Source Mother God offers to us all, then suddenly the sin drops away, because the judgment is gone, and all that is left is you being seen by God in a loving way. So that's my
Cool.
So cool. Yeah, I love how my mind is. I hope everybody else's mind is just exploding as much. Yeah. And I'm also noticing, like, I'm getting to the point where I'm short circuiting. Like I'll be thinking a thought, and the thought like disappears in the middle of it. So if I get really stupid from this point forward in the interview, you know, that's just what happened. My circuits blew. Okay, listen.
No judgment here.
No judgment, right? I totally felt it that moment. Like when you talk about when the judgment, we go into that erratic behavior, that fight or flight, that defensiveness. That is the isolation of the moment where it all changes.
Yep.
Good job. That's awesome. I love that.
It's so true. And Angie's with us. We're all overloading, we're all circuiting, but it looks like fireworks. So it's beautiful, and we'll just enjoy it. And I think for both of what you're saying, like there's so many clues in the language and the words. And sin literally is Latin for without. And to me, like sin is the illusion that you're without. And then just by believing it, you're trapped. And now you're stuck in this idea that you're without, but you're really not, and you never have been. So that's the reprogramming. And that's where the Akashic records can come in. So, Emily, as we deprogram all these learned traumas that cause so much suffering, it sounds like from what we've heard so far, the Akashic record is really like a living intergalactic library of remembrance that we can use to piece back together who we are. So can you tell us a little bit more about how you first started tapping into that, and what that looked like as you started to learn who you were from that perspective?
Well, what I recognized when I started learning more the mechanics on how to tap in is that I'd been tapping in the whole time, my entire life, and I just didn't really know what that looked like, or nobody had taught me this is what's happening, this is what's going on, right? And so that's really become my mission here on the planet, is to help humanity remember the technology of the Akashic records, because we're all wired in to be able to receive this divine guidance anyway. And it's once we unlearn the old programming and we begin to trust and to practice, it takes repetition, it takes practice to access your Akashic records regularly, but with practice, you can very reliably, 100% of the time, tap into the space of God mind and get instantaneous wisdom, guidance, and clarity about anything that you're experiencing in your life. And so I discovered the Akashic Records when I was in Hollywood, in a time when, on the outside, it looked like I had everything together in my life. I was getting more and more acting jobs, and I had a young family, I had young kids, and I had the handsome husband who was running schools in Los Angeles. And on the inside, I was freaking crumbling. The more acting jobs I was getting, the more I was missing as well. It's completely a numbers game. I was getting passed over for Avengers and Pearl Harbor and like these huge career making roles that I was feeling crushed on the inside. I was feeling judged. I was feeling not good enough. The challenges of motherhood and a big dream and career. I was pulled between these things that never made me feel like enough or okay in either realm. I had challenges with my husband that I didn't have the tools. We talk about the high level tools and patience and wisdom that it takes for us to teach each other how to be together in relationships. We had none of that. So a lot of things in my life from the facade, from the outside, looked great, and on the inside they weren't. And when I found the Akashic Records, I discovered the Akashic Records, and I discovered how to use them, which I'll share with people right now. It's not like you just tap in and then all of a sudden all the information just there. And it's like, we have to ask questions. The records work by what's known as invitation only, which means they will only give us the information that we're ready to receive. So as we start getting curious about ourselves, why am I that way? Why does it, do I sabotage myself in narcissistic relationships? Once we learn to tap into higher mind, there's actually a really good answer for that, right? That has to do with finding a gift within the treasure in the trauma. Yeah, to find the treasure in the trauma. That's a necessary part of healing that we need to go through, right? So once we learn how to tap into our soul records and we understand how to ask the questions that allow us to see ourselves differently, then we can move through a process of understanding ourselves more. I mean, there's radical self-love that happens as you go through this process. And that's one of the reasons I was curious just about what your process was, Matt, because I know Alyssa's gone through this process in this training. And did you feel like you knew yourself better and had more love for yourself after you went through this process?
Yeah, and some of the main things that I was able to access was feeling like it was okay to hold space for yourself. Because it was so easy for me to hold space for other people, but feeling like I could talk to myself, hear myself speak, and then answer myself and receive all that whole conversation within my own being. There was beliefs. There was a fear of being schizophrenic. Honestly, there was a fear of feeling like I'm not worthy unless somebody else is there to answer. There was the belief that I'm not good enough because nobody else is here to have this conversation. That was built into me that I had to dissolve in order to feel like, okay, it's okay, and I'm worthy, and that this is how it's supposed to be. And it's best that you get to do that with your higher self. It's best. It's why use a middleman when you could do it and have that access all the time, no matter what. So dissolving that and being like, this is the best thing. And if other people, that just makes it more fun and interesting because you're going to get it from their perspective. But so that was a very big thing. But yeah, the process was huge. And that was one of the main things I had to basically dissolve, that through your program, I was able to just, because you were forcing me to. You're like, okay, now you got to ask yourself this question. Now let it come through. And it allowed me to hold space for myself and then hear myself speak. And so it was helpful just to honestly have somebody that was irking you to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
And you could actually do that. That was really cool.
Yeah. And I can tell you, but back when Alyssa was going through masterclass, we all loved to come every week and just listen to what is the conversation she had with herself. Because so much beautiful information came through, and you emoted, you animate the energy of heaven on earth and wisdom evolving so beautifully for all of us to see. And I know it's a vulnerable place to be one, going through our own learning and allow other people to see it. And then to step into the space of coming back to bring our medicine and to help others on the planet. So you've just been a really a dear client, student, friend to me going along the process, to not only see your work, but then to see you become ignited and want to show up and help other people in your family with it is just, this is the legacy of the work, why I do what I do. But just quick back to the Akashic Records. So yeah, you can learn to tap in to read your own records, and it begins to transform your life like this. When I take people through the process, the beginning part of the training is learning the mechanics, learning a methodology that you can repeat, that you can do every time and get it to work. And then you go through the process of reading your own records, like Alyssa was talking about, these dialogues with self to really understand how we're currently programmed. And then there's the advanced, I call it showing off in the Akashic Records, where we're doing the more cosmic galactic things. We're moving the consciousness outside of our body in past lives and future lives. And whether any of the information that we get is true or not, what happens is we begin to stretch the imagination so that we think through a different part of our mind. We think things into being more dynamically. We think differently. We think with like an unabashed creativity and possibility in our life, which is how humans are truly designed to think. So it's been just incredibly fulfilling to travel the planet, teaching, speaking about the Akashic Records, and helping people to remember that they have all of this power within them to not only remember the truth of who they are, but then to shift and change their lives. I mean, Alyssa, you had really great physical health when you came to me, but not everybody does. I had a client, Cindy, who had an autoimmune disease. She hadn't gone out in the sun in 30 years. Like her skin hadn't touched the sunlight. And by the time she was finished with this training, 3.5 months, she was wearing tank tops and sandals and going to festivals. Yes. Right. So there's just such an opportunity to shift and change, whether it's our health, whether it's our, our mission, how it is that we're showing up and serving the planet. I mean, for me, my life shifted from Hollywood to becoming an entrepreneur, but I can share with you the financial, maybe I'll just call them like the patterns of my life and what I was comfortable receiving in terms of resource and wealth and support. Man, in Hollywood, I would work on a movie and I would make $20,000 a week for 6 weeks, and then I wouldn't work for a year, right? So it was like my financial ability to hold and resource money looked like getting a lot and then having none for a long time, and getting a lot and having none for a long time. And before I learned how to completely rewrite that pattern within my Akashic Records, it followed me. It didn't matter what job I was actually in. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's how the acting industry works. But do you think it just stayed in the acting industry? No, it was in every other aspect of my life. So it helped me to shift and change vows of poverty that I had taken in previous lifetimes. And in one calendar year, actually it was less than a calendar year, it was in 8 months alone, I quintupled my income. I made multi-six figures where I had never done that, like not even in my acting career before. So there are very practical ways that we can begin to use the Akashic Records to shift and change our lives for the better.
Absolutely. That is so well said. And like for anybody that is listening, like I couldn't recommend somebody better if you're wanting to really just upscale your life in any way, health. Like there's no limit to what you can get if you can finally see from God's perspective or a source's perspective, this higher consciousness of knowing when you see yourself through that and you drop the sin, you drop the judgment, suddenly this new path, this new capacity, everything starts to fall off, and then you really embody what you were meant to do here. So it's I can't say enough good things about it and about Emily. Thank you so much, Emily, for everything you've done for me. Yay, Cassie!
Yes.
Yes.
Take care of you, Cassie.
And I think what I'm gathering as both of you are speaking is a lot of us have some aspect of this that we've activated already, but we may not have all the intention or all the understanding of just how much power is there. So for all of you who do want to harness this power, to learn it, become a student of your own destiny, Emily and Alyssa are both very accessible. We've got Omega Heart Healing. We've got the Akashic Academy. We know you, Cassie, so no worries there. But for any of you who are tuning in, reach out. They're both very accessible to help you begin this journey in whether it's having your records read or learning to read the records for yourselves and others, or all of it, which is the best answer to anything, whatever feels good. But that masterclass sounds good to Angie too. So thank you so much for the quick understanding of a little bit deeper into the Akashic Records. We'll do more of it. Alyssa just recently graduated from the Akashic Academy. Congratulations, babe.
Yay!
Just like cheers
on the wall.
Yeah, so very excited to continue these discussions and go further into this quantum realm journey with whatever direction feels good. And so we're a little over. We're gonna wrap up soon, but we have a little bit of info on what Emily's got coming up next that we'd really like to understand just a little bit more, just a tidbit. But first, I want to come back to the question and just see if either of you feel called to answer it. If not, totally fine. But that question being, Emily remembers. Alyssa?
Yeah, who are we? Alyssa, he dropped like a thesis question up at the beginning. All right.
It's interesting because the thing that came through and nothing else came through is, who am I? I am.
Ooh, that's awesome.
If I am, then there's no limit. And you are just that I am experiencing yourself from every moment forward without attachment.
Yes. So for me, what dropped in was, I am a being of light. And it reminded me of when I do take people through the process of opening the records, there are 3 very sacred breaths that we take at the beginning. And there's a reflection, an invitation to reflect on some of those breaths. And one of them, as we're taking a deep breath, we're creating space in the body. And there's an invitation. Can you notice yourself as a creator of space? Right? I am a creator of space. Right? And then there's another breath where we're calling light into the body, and we're noticing where all cells are illuminated with rainbow colored light. And I say, can you notice yourself as a being of light? And that helps me. Like when I get trapped in the minutia of day-to-day life and the stress, I just ask my guides to help me go back to that cosmic perspective and remember this crazy ass video game that we're playing here. And like, help me to remember I'm a being of light. I'm a creator of space as I'm here in this planet.
Beautiful. I could sit in that space quite a while longer, and I will. Thank you both so much for sharing. I am so surprised at how simple that was. That was beautiful. So succinct, so powerful, and really all-encompassing. So thank you.
High five, girl. Let's take it on.
So incredible. So we've learned so much about this crown achievement of our life, being that deep dive back inside once we've healed the lower chakras. So thank you both so much for everything that we've gone through, everything we've shared. Thank you, those of you who contributed with the comments. We always appreciate that and look forward to more of these in the future. Now, before we sign off, Emily, you've got so much coming up with the Akashic Academy. It sounds intergalactic at least, but would you mind just giving us a quick, for anybody who wants to learn more, a quick rundown of what you've got going on?
Quick high-level overview of, like, speaking of taking the show on the road, that's exactly what's happening next week. Every August over LionsGate at the Akashic Academy, I take seekers onto Mount Shasta for remembering the codes of ancient Lemuria, activating our DNA. The Mount Chakra is Mount Chakra. See, I'm like,
I like that.
We're at that
Mount Crown Chakra, guys.
Mount Shasta is the root chakra of the planet. Yes, where we're
right.
It's like, as in your training, I'm sure you taught about being where we align like our safety and our security on the planet. It's also like where we're connected at the base to the planet. So when we take our intentions of service to humanity and being in our soul mission into Mount Shasta, we actually adjust our timelines. We align to the timeline of our highest potential service to the planet. And so we do this every year for seekers and, the great visionaries, thought leaders, difference makers who are here to make a profound change on the planet and are wanting not only that community, but also understanding how to harness the galactic energies of the planet and of nature. So we've been doing this, y'all, for the past 5 years. This year, my past life is coming back from Hollywood. We're shooting a docuseries, a 5-episode docuseries for people who might not be able to travel and join us on Mount Shasta to still experience the power of the Akashic records and understanding what their soul mission is and how they can align to their soul mission of legacy here on the planet. So I'm super excited to start shooting that next week. Of course, we do it in alignment with LionsGate, which is one of the most profound gateways of accessing our true power and remembering. And so I'll be taking a brand new group of seekers into Mount Shasta next week. And the docu-series is not going to stop at Mount Shasta. We are going to continue to travel into locations, vortexes on the planet for the course of the next year, to activate the codes of remembrance within us. The next stop on our trip will be Egypt, where we will be activating the royal lineage of sacred leadership within us here on the planet. And then when we go to Stonehenge in the spring, in April,
Egypt.
The Stonehenge in the spring will be activating the gates of the elementals and the earth plane, and really harnessing the magic that's here and available for us. So that's what I've got coming up. I'm super excited about what the next year looks like. I think it's probably going to be the most exciting year in the last 10 years of me training and traveling and doing this work.
Is that going to be like 4 months between each one type of thing, or are you doing boom, boom, boom?
4 months between each one. So we've got Shasta in August, Egypt will be December, and Stonehenge will be in April.
Okay, and all of those people are allowed to just do just one of them, or do you kind of have to commit to doing all three and you're part of the program? Or
yeah, it's not necessary to do all three, although some people will want to, because they're designed to move the soul through a gateway within a cosmic year to bring back that solar codex return, right? That return of our most potent inner power.
That sounds incredible. I hope that we're going to be there in person, but if not, I'm so excited to watch it. This sounds so magical. It's like my wildest dreams come true. Yes. So hopefully we can make it, Maddie. Let's make it happen.
Okay. Remember, I'm on your other side. For whatever reason, you got to point to the left when I'm on the right. We will be tuned in one way or another, though. And Angie's felt that energy from Shasta before. You'll feel it anywhere on the planet by tuning in at any time. Remember, that's the power of the record. So, Emily, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you both so much. This was fun. Angie, Cassie, everybody out there who watches on the replay, thanks for hanging with us.
Yes, absolutely. Love you guys.